Hello and welcome back to the table. Joining us today is Natalie Keng. She's an author, a leadership, food, and culture expert. Quite a combination, right? So, Natalie, I want to get back to this concept of why you say the connection between food and leadership and diversity is so important for folks who may be having a hard time connecting those dots quickly. How does that work?
Well, my passion is really about exploring those intersections and parallels between race, class, and gender through the food and through the different Asian flavors. So, for example, you can just eat something, right? You can just eat a dish. But in the experiences that I create for folks, you are learning about where the food comes from and the tradition behind it, and maybe the chef or the grower that grew it. And then with my public policy background, you might learn a little bit about the agriculture, the policy, the industry, the important priorities around it.
And do you find that those conversations then lead to sometimes even just breaking down stereotypes or just a aha moment when someone's like, oh, so that's why you do it that way, or that's why you say something that way.
Exactly. And that enables thinking out of the box. And so when we are more
Which
aware,
we can use a whole lot more of right now when we look at sometimes where race relations are. And not just race, but class. Right? The classism can sometimes be more oppressive than even the racism.
Sometimes there's access to food and foodways. There's the health and wellness component that obviously has race, gender, and class components. We just went through a global health experience, and we can see how important health and wellness is to that. And so as we become more aware, and if the event is inspiring because we're meeting, we have a group experience that is inspiring, then it's motivating us to think differently and to lead differently and to possibly include folks on the team that might have different perspectives as well.
So let me ask you this. For someone who's never going to be a part of one of your experiences, what is your advice to folks for recreating how a food experience, we know how it works with family, right? What's your advice to folks who want to say, you know what, maybe this is an opportunity for us to open up our doors in different directions to different people who don't look like everybody who's at the table all the time? What would you say?
What I've tried to do is just meet folks where they are. So not to assume and not to base it on any generalization, but it could be trying just a new dish, or it could be trying a new vegetable, or it could be making a new friend because you had a dining experience together, or shopping with someone who has a different background. And so they might share with you a Haitian tradition of cooking that was less familiar to you. And then there might be an exchange. And from the recipe exchange then might be the trust and networking that comes
that builds the next conversation that may have nothing to do with race, but these after school activities are driving me crazy. You just never know where the next common denominator is.
It's about the connection. And I think being open to all the different connections in the spectrum of how people can be leaders. Because as you know, as a game changer, there are different leadership styles and different ways of leading. And I think our perception of what a leader looks like or sounds like can be opened up as we open our minds up, whether it's to a different culture or food, or to someone with a different communication style.
And you sort of touched on this, the concept of sponsoring food and culture team building experiences. But there's also this idea of just shopping with women and businesses owned by Black and brown people of color across the board. Right?
Yes, there are two endeavors I'm
going
very
to somebody
about.
else's cultural event.
Exactly.
Right?
I have a Joy Potluck Club that I do with women.
Yes.
So it's about bringing your favorite dish and tradition and story. And I also kicked off a cookbook collective, which supports other female authors through the power of gifting. So it's like get one, gift it, get a new book. Because who has just one cookbook? We all like to have a whole spectrum of them.
Yes.
And I also
said the woman who cooks a lot here. Clearly, I love it. I love it.
I also have a Global Hearth Marketing Alliance that leverages the power of social networking and social media to help all of us.
Gotcha. And let's talk quickly before we run out of time here about, you've talked about supporting the entrepreneurs, but the collective, sorting the cookbook collective to support the women authors, because I really like that idea of the swap.
Yes, it's great, because if you really like to cook or read, who has just one book? right? So it's all about kind of lifting all boats or lifting the whole kitchen table, adding seats, right? Making the table bigger is what it's all about.
And I think it's really important, too, to point out this concept of celebrating other cultural heritage months and milestones. And I think sometimes people get a little antsy about that and want to make sure, well, I don't want to look like a part of cultural appropriation or not appreciating something. But you do sometimes just have to say, listen, I really would like to try some Indian food and I don't even know how to order, right? Don't you just have to sort of open it up yourself and say, can we do this together?
Right. Well, part of my joy in doing this work is that I host a Lunar New Year cultural dinner.
Nice.
Which brings folks together from all the different sectors, because I love meeting people from the private and the public, and I've been in office and everything, so I just love meeting folks. And we are having it on February 3rd.
Nice.
So you can get tickets on globalheart.com.
Good deal.
And our events and tours can be virtual as well. So I can do classes that adapt to global teams.
Let's pause right here because we want to make sure we have plenty of time to cook.
Of course.
Of course. All right, stay with us. We are moving to the kitchen. Well, on the Porsche show, the kitchen. We're moving to that kitchen right there. Lots of good ingredients. There's a Georgia stir fry coming up. Stay with us.